Welcome to the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast presented by Fishhawk Electronics. If you're looking for news, tips, and stories about fishing the Great Lakes, you've come to the right place. And now your host, Chris Larson.
Welcome to the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast. We're at the Greater Niagara Fishing and Outdoor Show, and today we are talking with Joe Yaeger. Joe is the president of the Lake Ontario Trout and Salmon Association. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about the Lake Ontario Trout and Salmon Association.
Well, LOTSA is an organization that's probably been in existence for about 40 years. It really took off when the salmon came to Lake Ontario. And it's always been about an education. It was put together to educate the fishermen, promote the fishery, work with the government to get more launch access and those kinds of things. And 40 years later, we're basically still doing the same things.
Cool.
Education's totally changed over the years, obviously, with the techniques and tools and knowledge that we all now have, but it's just as much sought after now as it was 40 years ago.
I think when a lot of people think about Great Lakes fishing and they think about fishing Lake Ontario, a lot of them think about taking a charter trip, and there's certainly a lot of that, but a lot of the guys that you're dealing with are kind of the recreational anglers and people who are just kind of average guys.
Yeah, we've got about 500 members year over year, and most of them are rec anglers, most of them are weekend warriors, and everybody now understands how important the ability to network with other fishermen is, both during the week as you're watching the weather and hearing other guys getting out, and then once you get on the lake, being able to talk to some other guys and know if they're on fish and what they're catching them on and what speed they're going and all those kinds of things is absolutely crucial to catching fish consistently.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that. What kind of relationships are made? What's it like being a member of LOTSA?
Well, we do about 6 meetings a year. And all of our meetings are education oriented. So we'll have a speaker come in every meeting, talk hour and a half type of thing with questions, and we get a good crowd, and a lot of relationships are built during those meetings. We actually do one of the meetings is on the dock. We're on the back of some guy's boat or around a guy's boat and talking that way. And then we do a lot of things in LOTSA to promote fishing together. So we have a LOTSA tournament we run. And we get around 50 boats or so to enter, which is it's a low payout, low cost. Everybody can get in. In fact, on Friday, we do a pre-fish tournament, which is free. Mm-hmm. And we give away about $800 in cash from LOTSA for the box of 3 biggest fish. We pay down like 4 slots. But it's meant to encourage people. So they come in, we do the weigh-in, we have a hot dog roast with everyone. They go away. The next day is tournament day, and we actually run our tournaments. We run best 3 fish over 2 days, and then a big fish that day also. And then we throw a big picnic and tournament afterwards. So it's everything we do is trying to encourage people to network, meet people, make new friends. Keep fishing. And for the guys that aren't catching fish, it's really valuable to see, I fish the exact same waters with this guy. This guy brought in a 66-pound box, and mine was a 32-pound box. What did he do that I didn't? And that's the whole conversation that takes place.
What do some of those success stories look like when you have people that are able to get around anglers that are better than them and learn from them and grow?
Well, they continue to come back, and as they get better and better, you'll see them move up, and they'll see them win some of our tournaments or place high in some of our tournaments, and all of a sudden, they're the guys that people are now going to, and they're passing that information on. And people bring their kids grow up, now the kids got boats. So we see a lot of that take place over the course of the years in LOTSA, and that's really what the club's about.
Yeah, you're the president, Joe. What's most rewarding for you to be in this organization?
I think it's to see that we're all given something back. None of us were taught in school how to go out and fish Lake Ontario and catch kings consistently. So we had to learn it from someone, and most of us didn't learn it from our parents if we were my age, because that fishery didn't exist. So we had to learn it from guys that knew a little bit more about it and grow up with them. And I think that's the most rewarding, that passing on, getting more people involved with the fishery, seeing the new guys get involved. And as guys age out, you can only do that fishery so long, and running a boat and in some pretty tough conditions and stuff. At some point in time, you say, hey, enough's enough. I want to go on other guys' boat, but I just can't manage my boat anymore.
Sure.
So we do a lot of that.
For people who are thinking about doing it, I know New York is a state that has just some amazing places to fish. But if they want to get out on Lake Ontario and start doing this, what do they need?
Well, they need a boat. Our fishery is within a lot of the summer fishery is within about a mile or two ashore. So you don't need something that's a 30-foot tiara. You can fish it with a 18-foot open bow, walk through windshield, couple downriggers, couple divers. Quite frankly, we have guys out there that go between walleye and salmon in Lake Erie and Lake Ontario all the time. And some of them don't even have downriggers. They'll just fish the divers and the coppers, and they do very well.
Sure.
So it's you don't need a huge boat. Now, at times you do. Obviously, you have to watch the weather. But most of the summertime fishing, which is really when it's the most enjoyable and the fishing's really good, it's a couple miles from shore.
Yeah. With all the fisheries here in the state of New York and a lot of places to go, what makes Lake Ontario special to you?
Well, salmon. It's salmon. I walleye fish. I love to fish for perch in the spring. I love to fish for brown trout. And I steelhead fish in the river. But the salmon's salmon. That's what makes everything go.
Sure. And
you take some people out that haven't caught a salmon before, and that rod goes off, and it's just they can't believe it. So that's the thing that brings everybody back to Lake Ontario.
LOTSA does some pen rearing as well. Can you tell me about that program?
We started pen rearing the main hatchery, the only hatchery, is in the Salmon River, which is at the east end of the lake. Down in the west end, which is where we are, we needed to increase the number of fish that staged down here and ran up our creeks and rivers. So that's how pen rearing came about, and we've been doing it heavily for probably the last 12, 14 years. And right now it's pretty automated. We've got automated feeders and everything, and it's pretty, other than we put them in, we feed them, we let them go. We actually did brown trout this last spring also in the pens. But it's our way of keeping those fish down here for the western end fishermen. When they did the census, the DEC did the census, about somewhere between 30 and 70% of the fish any year were wild fish. So when you get a 70% wild fish year, none of those fish are staying down in the west end. They're always going back to the Salmon River where they were born. And that leaves us pretty dry down here, come the end of August. So pen rearing is what really supplements our fishery.
Sure. And you talked about a little bit earlier about how this is aging up, and there's so many outdoor sports that are doing that right now, and I think people are really coming to the realization that we really need to focus on getting our kids into these sports to keep them alive. And you guys have a children's program as well. Tell us about the kids program.
Well, at the show right now, which I think someone else will talk about in a little bit, but we used to have a LOTSA show. That's what the show is that you're at right now came out of. We outgrew that. And with that, we've continued to take our kids' programs with us. So there's probably 10 some odd sessions this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, that are geared toward kids. Both are the younger kids with their parents, so we can get the parents to take the kids out, and then further on down, the high school and college kids that we want to continue to recruit into the fishery. So we continue to do that. LOTSA used to do individual classes for kids. We've kind of moved. We think this is a better forum for us. We get more kids and there's more interest. But even in our tournaments, the kids are free. There's some kids prizes we give away to the youngest angler or the whatever, to continue to promote people bringing their kids. And boy, if you've got teenagers, it's a great place to take your teenagers on that lake.
Sure. There's something about LOTSA I haven't asked you about that's important you want to talk about.
No, I think we covered the tournaments. We spend a lot of time working with the DEC. And we're on one of the major DEC committee as far as stocking goes, and where they're going to put the fish and bait and all the rest of that stuff. But I think that's it. I mean, our membership is $10. It was $10 40 years ago. It's still $10. It's meant to let anyone who wants to be a LOTSA member be a LOTSA member. The other thing that we do that maybe is a little different is there's a number of tournaments that run over the Lake Ontario Counties Derby is one of them, and actually it's a spring, fall, and summer, and they're the largest derby in the lake. We actually jump on the end of that, and we give there's a LOTSA prize in every one of those for the largest fish, and that's really competitive because that's lake-wide. To the LOTSA member that has a LOTSA member verify the fish and weighs it into the tournament, and that's a highly competitive one, but it's a really nice way. Doesn't take a lot of our resource, but it allows all our membership to fish in those tournaments, which encourages them to fish the tournaments, which is good. But from a LOTSA perspective, you're fishing against fellow members also. So that's kind of a unique thing we do.
If people are interested in getting involved with you, how do they find you?
LOTSA1.org is our website, and we also have a LOTSA Facebook page.
Awesome, Joe. Thanks so much for coming on the show, joining us, and talking about LOTSA. We really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast presented by Fishhawk Electronics. For more information on fishing the Great Lakes, visit our blog at fishhawkelectronics.com.